What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. Thank God we just won that series against the Rockies. It started rocky out in Colorado, and then it ended well. The vibes are infinitely better. After Tuesday night, I was ready to get on here and start yelling like everybody wanted. We win the next two games. Now the vibes are good. Going into the Seattle series, we'll talk about everything going on in Colorado this past week, along with preview the Mariners series with TJ and Lyle from the Marine Layer podcast. So make sure you guys stick through that. A lot of good stuff there because we don't play the Mariners too often. So you'll learn a lot about the team and the stadium if you're heading out there, as well as James has got some interesting stuff on the pitchers because the Mets actually pitched really well in this series, weirdly in Colorado. That doesn't really make any sense. And a tiny little mini prospect report coming in at the end. So make sure you guys stick around. We do appreciate you. If you like what you're listening to and watching over here, make sure you follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to our podcast channel, Mets'd on YouTube. If you want to see the video version of this, make sure you subscribe. We appreciate it. And if you are listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. James, how are the vibes for you after this series?
Vibes are great. Mets did what they had to do. They won two out of three in the series, won 3 out of 4 since last time we talked to you guys, because we also have to talk about beating the Cardinals, thankfully, in the weird single day game on Monday. Keith talked about it a lot on Wednesday night, how weird it was that they were talking to some of the players and they were like, this is the first time in 4 days we've been in the same time zone in back-to-back days, which is
wow.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they went Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 3 different ballparks, 3 different time zones, which is annoying as hell, but nice to see this team battle through the adversity. It's easier to battle through adversity against very bad teams like the Rockies and kind of bad teams like the Cardinals. Hope some Cardinals fans caught that one listening. But just nice that they've righted the ship. It's August. Baseball's hard. Traveling's hard. Like, this shit is not easy, especially as you get this deep into the season and the teams you're competing with are fucking blazing hot. Every single day your game gets magnified. But Mets responded well, and they're in a good spot right now as we have another episode.
I know we've talked about on the podcast before, too early for scoreboard watching. It's still August. If the Mets just win, can't worry about it. But I will tell you what, it is fucking frustrating that the Padres and Diamondbacks refuse to lose. Pirates couldn't help us out at all. The Cleveland Guardians, who had been the best team in baseball record-wise, were like, what if we get swept? What if we play the worst baseball we've played all year at home where they never lose? Like, come on, give us some help.
And shout out Colin Holderman, the fucking sleeper cell he is, just blowing 3 games in 6 days for the Pirates. So I think all of those, this will finally actually be the last Colin Holderman mention ever on Mets Twitter, which would be really, really exciting just to get over that 2022 trade deadline once and for all. But again, this was a good week for the Mets. Again, this episode feels strange because, it was because Tuesday felt horrible, but we won the game on Monday. And then Wednesday, 75% of the way through that game, everyone had the same pit in their stomach that we were going to blow it again and drop a second straight series to a really bad team. You were even freaking out. We were texting about it. You were ready to absolutely just freak the fuck out. But it's fine. It's so fine. I don't know. I don't know what's happened to me. I'm so much chiller about this Mets season, this Mets run right now than I've ever been in my life. And seemingly everybody else who's a Mets fan in my life is. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the lack of expectations. Maybe it's just the year after working for the team and I've desensitized myself a little bit, but I'm just weirdly, I'm too zen about where the Mets are right now. I don't think I even like it.
I think it's the latter. I think it's the desensitized after being so heavily involved in what was going on for a year and a half working with the team, because I was ready to lose my mind. Like you said, beating the Cardinals like we did on Monday was awesome. We walked in there and beat the piss out of them. Sean Manaea was incredible. He was phenomenal. We'll talk about him a little bit more. And then they were just so flat on Tuesday against fucking Kyle Freeland, who I know has been pitching better, but he stinks. Kyle Freeland is terrible. And then they start off slow against Ryan Feltner and Noah Davis, whoever it is.
Well, that was some bullshit because, and Keith talked about this, Gary and Keith, it was so nice to have those two in the booth
So
together.
great.
Wow, what amazing to have two professionals who know the game that well in there. But they were talking about how much preparation there is in the modern game. But that was a really good point. And the fact that you prepare a lot for a starting pitcher. Suddenly, after one inning, he's out of the game. And now you lose the whole game plan. I know this reliever that came in, Noah Davis, isn't exactly good, but it's a very different look. It's a wrinkle from what you were expecting. So that was just, again, so many little things are happening to just barely knock this Mets team off balance. And it's just, again, nice to see them steam through it. Nice to see them still win these games. Really easy to do that against bad teams. You have to be able to steam through the things and knock you off balance against the good teams. That comes next. The next road trip, the very important road trip, San Diego, Arizona. Crazy. Those are back to back. But
also just remember, we didn't get this chance to say sweep because we did sweep the Cardinals.
Yes, we did sweep the Cardinals, sweep back from back in May, so that was great. And again, that Cardinals game was awesome. Jeff
Awesome.
McNeil is so damn back. I don't know if any of
So
you guys
back. It's
saw the tweet,
crazy.
the very petty tweet I put out for Mets'd, but
Well
Jeff
done,
McNeil's
James.
just he's getting back up there. His season stats. He's finally up to like almost 700 OPS, which again, that's not good. I'll never tell you that's good,
No.
but it's a real upswing from where Jeff was about 6 weeks ago. He's one of the
Although
worst qualified hitters in baseball.
Padres fans would tell you that's good because that's what Luis Arias has, who has a lower F4 officially than Jeff McNeil.
Woo!
Batting average doesn't matter.
It's hate week in the Messed Up podcast. So as of Monday, it was really cool because Jeff McNeil had a higher OPS than Bryson Stott. I heard he's elite second baseman.
Elite.
Paul Goldschmidt, MVP 2 years ago. Gleyber Torres, another elite second baseman. Corbin Carroll, rookie of the year last year. Adolis Garcia, I've heard one of the most clutch players in history of baseball because of last postseason. Andres Jimenez, the guy who helped the Guardians win the trade over the Mets over Francisco Lindor. And Dansby Swanson, the guy the Mets should have signed a shortstop at San Francisco.
Your namesake, James Swanson.
Yeah, James Swanson. I mean, hey, that's where I'm going the hair out. I really want to try and rival him with the hair.
When are you going to go by Dansby?
I don't think so ever. But it's just nice to see that as bad of a season Jeff McNeil's had, we always talk about this, you guys. The shape of seasons matters so much to the way baseball narratives are driven. The fact that Jeff is horrible and now he's been good for 5 weeks, where Bryson Stott was really good for 5 weeks and horrible in almost every single game since then, it feels different, but really it's the same. And that's where we're at. I'm happy just Jeff is hot. It was nice to see us get on the board early in that game too, because I was really worried about sleepwalking through like a 1 day, 1 game situation.
Yes.
The fact that you got there early and Manaea, dude. Fucking Manaea. The last 2 starts, 14 scoreless innings, 22 strikeouts, no walks. Like, what the hell's got into this guy?
Yeah, watching him pitch, he's just good. Like, I think that's just the sentence now. And this is gonna, I'm gonna be a little hyperbolic here in saying some things, but he was a former first round pick, like 34th overall back in 2013. So he has the prospect pedigree. And when he was coming up with the A's, there was a lot of hype around him. He was supposed to be like that frontline starter for the A's 7-8 years ago, whatever it was when he was really first coming up. And it feels like sometimes these pitchers, and we've talked about this before, especially when it comes to pitching, sometimes it takes a really long time to figure it out. It took, again, not saying the same pitcher. I want this to be very, very clear. I'm not saying the same picture. But it took what? Max Scherzer 7 years? No, but I'm saying, like, it took him a really long time to figure out how to pitch. He's one of the best pitchers of all time. That's very different in terms of the ceiling. But for a guy like Sean Manaea, this could be the next step as for him being a very good starting pitcher for the rest of his major league career. When theoretically this offseason, he was bargain bin shopping around, trying to keep the dream alive in a way of like, I want to be a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. Somebody give me a shot.
Totally. And it's an important lesson, I think, to not just baseball fans or people that make baseball content, but also maybe some people who run baseball organizations that are in front offices. Like, just because someone doesn't do something doesn't mean they can't do something. And I found the victim with this with Manaea. The Mets found the victim with this with Seth Lugo. And Sean Manaea only completed 6 innings. I think it was 3 or 4 times all of last year. The Giants just simply didn't ask him to do that. But the Mets saw something in him and saw his past that he had done it before, that he could chew up innings in a big way and could be more effective doing it. And the Mets and Manaea together have made a lot of changes here that have really, really turned him into being, again, like you said, a very legit pitcher on the season. 3.3 ERA and 1.18 WHIP.
It's also
3.0,
like
3.30.
A little yin and yang right now too, because like, oh my God, love that he's pitching so well. Damn it, he's not going to take that player extension. He's probably going to get paid a little bit this offseason.
Totally, which is okay. But now you're almost in a spot where, like, we've been talking about Luis Severino for the qualifying offer. We could talk about Sean Manaea for the qualifying offer now. Like, that's realistic. But those on the season, the 3.30 ERA, the 1.18 WHIP, those are both top 30 of all the pitchers in the league as of when I typed these notes out on Tuesday. And then some of the more stats that I like more, like Sierra, Skills Interactive ERA, that's like taking a pitcher's all the balls that are put in play and how many strikeout and walks they have and spitting out a number that's like what their ERA should be. I think it's a little more indicative of than FIP, especially better than XFIP. I hate XFIP because XFIP just takes the balls in play, but makes your home run rate league average, which is stupid because you're not always going to have a league average home run rate. Where Sierra is like, oh, you get pop ups, you get ground balls, strikeouts, and walks. Like, those are the most important things. Like, I think those are also the most important things, pitcher results, and also strikeout minus walk rate. He's top 30 in both of those since June 1st. So by every single measure over the last 2 months, month and a half of baseball, Sean Manaea has been a legitimate frontline pitcher. And that's not being hyperbolic. That's not being biased. It's not homerism. He has been that guy.
I mean, what's he gotten? Last 2 starts, 14 innings total, 21 strikeouts with like a walk, I think, which is like insane.
And nowhere in runs.
Like, how how even more important is it in this rotation with Kodai Senga going down, with Christian Scott hurt, although we got some positive news that he might start throwing again in the
Yeah.
coming weeks. But like for him to step up like this, especially when like Sevy had a little bit of a skid here against the Rockies, tough spot, first time pitching in Colorado. But Manaea has really just become the best pitcher in this rotation.
Dude, yeah, and he's made some major changes this year, which you gotta give a lot of credit always to the boy Jeremy Hefner. Been
King,
been been
king
fans of him
shit.
forever. Just can't do it. Can never give up on Jeremy Hefner, even though as many people on the internet want to. Manaea, one big thing he did this year, he's gone throwing a lot more two seamers than four seamers. That pitch is legit one of the best in all of baseball this entire season in terms of run value.
So interesting.
17th best run value in the league, and the third best run value for any two seamer in the league or sinker in the league, besides Paul Skeens, who that's different.
Yeah.
And Jose Soriano. You guys got a taste of Jose Soriano last weekend. It's also a really good pitch. And also the only thing that's weird though about Manaea, because I was looking a lot of different websites, a lot of different places about his two seamer and four seamer usage. They're so similar to one another that I'm scared that a lot of times when we look this stuff up, their usage rates will bleed into each other because it's like 2 inches different in vertical break on them and like an inch different in horizontal break. So again, those pitches can seem the same, but also I think that's something that's beautiful about it because there's a lot more pitchers this year than years past who are trying to throw both of those pitches at the same time and mixing those two up. Not often you're going to throw them to hitters from the same side of the plate, but Manaea is unique in this fact, whereas he throws them both high in the zone.
Yes.
We were talking about this a lot when we were together the other night that I can't think of another pitcher who's thrown this many two seamers high, especially a lefty. But Manaea gets that crazy reach and that crazy extension on that pitch, and it gets in on hitters on both sides of the plate, especially the righties, because in his last two games, I think he's faced a total of one right-handed batter in the combined lineups of the Cardinals and Twins. So what he's doing, one left-handed batter, I mean, so everything that he's doing is against hitters who should technically have advantage against them. And it's amazing because what he's done a lot is he's throwing a lot more cutters. He's using it mostly when he's early in the count or behind these right-handed hitters. And he's cut the use of his changeup and his gyro slider, which his career always got hit the hardest. He still uses them to mix in against righties in general, but he has like he's cut that pitch a little bit, but then he's now created like this tighter cutter that is a better differentiator from his big sweeper that he's even been more willing to throw inside his right-handed batters recently because it definitely is his best pitch. It moves the most. It gets the most swings and misses. It's just a lot of little tweaks here and there along the way that have turned him into a new pitcher, more or less.
Yeah, it was fantastic to watch him just dice up this Cardinals lineup. Who that's definitely the strong suit of their team. They have a good lineup. Like they can
It's a
definitely
really
hit
good
the
lineup.
Cardinals. They've hit a bunch this year, and just to see him dice them up like that in silence, which was phenomenal because we were at the bowling alley. Shout out the gutter,
Oh, yeah.
and we didn't have to listen to the game, which I heard was a little bit painful. But it was really nice that game, especially because it did matter more theoretically than like the Rockies games or the Angels games. I hate saying that, but it's true. It did matter more because it's a direct competitor. And to just kind of coast like we did and get the big hits late in the game to keep it even more separated from them, just such a nice, clean win. And you're like, Mets, there we go. That's the Mets. Not what we saw against the Angels. This is the team we were all expecting.
Totally. And another favorite that's happening in this show, I really want to shout out Padres Twitter because they went on a weird diatribe against Sean Manaea this week for some
What?
reason,
They
saying
did?
that you didn't see this, that
No.
he dogged it and he was lazy when he was with them and
Fuck off.
he's like an asshole for getting so
Get
much
the
better off the
fuck
team
outta here.
when really that's almost entirely from coaching. But there was a lot of people saying that look up on Twitter right now, look up Sean Manaea Clevenger because there was a
Sean
tweet
Clevenger, okay.
it was disparaging both of them. When in reality, you see a start like this for Sean Manaea, and again, he's facing, I think it was literally 17 of the 18 batters he faced were right-handed batters. He stopped throwing his changeup and his tight slider. He was throwing more and more back foot sweepers, tons more high fastballs. He simplified it, which is the biggest thing for Manaea because he's had walked so many guys this year. So these starts, he was like, fuck it, I'm going to throw my fastballs. I'm going to fill up the zone. I'm going to dare you, and you're not going to hit it. Where the changeup and those slider pitches, those are the ones he was always trying to nibble with and try and sit on the edges with, where now I think he's confident enough in his fastball. And he's getting enough velocity on it, and he's able to locate it in the right spots. He doesn't care anymore, especially putting hitters away. That four-seam pitch for him has become his strikeout pitch. That's his most thrown pitch of the season against right-handed batters with two strikes.
Wow.
By a lot. 45% of the time he's throwing that pitch with two strikes against righties, which is crazy. But and that to me feels like a mental thing. That's a confidence in a pitch they might not have been confident in the past with, because that used to be an attempted ground ball pitch for him. But I think now working with Hefner, working with Yeagers, working with everyone in the Mets staff, that pitch is now up to the right-handers, and it's the four-seamer against the right-handers. Specifically.
I wonder if this is like again. I'm just speaking out loud here. I have nothing to prove this or whatnot, but maybe against the righties too, because they're looking for that sweeper, they're looking for that cutter. could he be tunneling this four-seamer so well that, like,
Definitely.
they're just selling out for that and it's staying up and they're like, "Oh, shit, not even close.
Yeah,
Not even
totally.
close."
And again, it's something where you're looking for the sweeper that's going to drop back foot because he's been doing that a lot more. And it's
Yes.
really good. And that color sits in on the guy's hands. But that 94 really sneaks up on you when you're not expecting
Especially
it.
his
And again,
great extension.
that's it. He gets so close to you. He's striding down the whole mound. And he's so big. Remember, also cut his hair. That was
Cut his hair.
big business move by Sean Manaea at the beginning of the year. Everyone
Cut
forgets
his
that,
hair.
but that was a great move by him. He's just really good. Like he's been in an off season where David Stearns absolutely cooked and made a lot of
Cooked.
really good signings. This is the best one.
Let him cook. I saw the tweet though. It's from this Ava woman. Sean Manaea should get 69,000 times the hate Josh Hader gets from Padres fans. This man admitted to being lazy and not trying. He's a huge reason why the Padres weren't able to get to the World Series in 2022. I don't feel like that's even true.
I think that Padres Twitter just makes things up.
Well, yeah, I mean they called Luis Arias Tony Gwynn, so it's
So,
disrespectful to the greatest player that's ever stepped foot in that stadium.
someone from, yeah, right. Someone from Padres Twitter got my mentions a week after I did a tweet like saying like I like Robbie Snelling and they traded him last week for which was he Tanner Scott?
He
Yeah, he was
was Tanner Scott, yeah.
Yeah. Basically saying I was like I think he's a good pitcher. I thought it was a lot for the Padres to give up, but they're trying to get a playoff spot. That's what you're doing. He's like, yeah, cry Mets fans, keep crying when we have a World Series before you guys. I was like, yo, good luck, dude.
You got
It's not gonna happen.
fun fact, you didn't. You've been an organization for a while, and the Mets do have a World Series before the Padres have won one. So that also
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. Not to brag about being the better loser, but we are.
I've dropped this fact on the show before, but for any new fans out there, and hopefully maybe some Padres fans hate listening, the Padres were invented as a Major League Baseball franchise just for the Dodgers and Walter O'Malley, basically to pick on somebody. He gave his own
Is it
general
from the
manager
book?
time. Yeah, Buddy Bavasi. He put him up to be the one who ran the new San Diego expansion team because he knew he was an idiot. And he didn't want a well-run organization in the same area in Southern California.
That's awesome. That's
It's
sick.
a legendary hate, and you know what else that team has been for all time?
Losers.
Bad.
Yeah.
And Padres fans love to make fun of the Mets. Everyone went for Steve Cohen. You know who the original Padres owner was? It was the fucking CEO of McDonald's.
Oh,
And
really?
he spent money like a madman. He used to go on the microphone, the announcers booth in the middle of games, and say, "These guys suck. We're gonna get a new player.
Yeah.
Sorry to all the fans." I'm like, what? How can you play for somebody like that?
That's awesome.
But yeah,
That's awesome.
Ray Kroc.
It's Ray Kroc. That's a strong name too. That
It's a
is
good
the guy who would
industrial
own
name
McDonald's.
from like the '60s.
Yeah. It's a shame because I used to love the Padres. Like that was like my fun team to like
Love
root
San
for and stuff.
Diego.
Love San Diego, great city. Love the jerseys. Like I love everything about it. But man, their fans have been so annoying. Like the only team that's like basically one less is the Dodgers. But even they got the Mickey Mouse World Series.
And we got to get this Padres hate going because we're in fucking direct
Yeah.
competition with them. 2 weeks, we have a big 4-game series in San Diego. It's going to determine the entire playoff run. So, all Mets fans, start to ruminate this Padres hate. Start to get it back. We still need payback from 2022. Pete Alonso's still there. Chris Paddock is not. There's a lot of weird, little shitty bad blood between these organizations, and I want to go into their house because we already swept them once this year.
Yes.
So even if you just win 2 out of 4 from them, you now own the tiebreaker with them. It's kind of like gaining a game in the wildcard standing because now a tie means you win. But just I don't want to look ahead. We have a lot of important games until that happens. But now we got to even get back to the Rockies now this series. But damn, it's gonna be a big series.
Oh, man, that could be a magical week. Go to San Diego and Arizona, watch the Mets play. Wow, it could be something. All right, bring it back to Colorado. We beat the piss out of the Cardinals. They suck. They're dead. All right, talk about the Cardinals Rocky series. That was awesome by me. Tuesday, like we said, bad game, super weird. The vibes were off. The Mets couldn't hit. Lindor had some of the worst at-bats he's had all year, which was bizarre because it was against Kyle Freeland, and he's so good right-handed, but he looked like he just was guessing every single pitch and was guessing wrong every single time. All in all, was bad. I hate playing in Coors. I said it to you on Wednesday night when after Ezekiel Tovar, he hit a nuke, but I just hate playing in Coors because pop-ups go out. Jake Cave hit that cheap, insane home run on a high and inside pitch that he inside outed to left field. It doesn't make any sense. I hate playing there. So Tuesday was bad vibes. Severino's first start ever in Coors. He'd pitched in every single ballpark, I think, until that one. And it was funny because Mike Petriello the next day posted a graphic about Severino's horizontal break on his sinker. Vertical break. And it was just significantly less than it ever had been the entire year. He's like, yep, welcome to Coors, man. It sucks to pitch there. And this is why they've never had good pitching, basically.
No, it is a shame. Gary and Keith were talking about it a lot that like the Rockies for the first time in a while do seem to have finally put together a pretty okay core of position players. Like I look at the Rockies lineup right now and I'm like, it's still not good. Like, but it's not that bad.
I like Tovar. McMahon.
You were also right about the horizontal break. It was down 4 inches from his season average
Okay.
horizontal break, and his changeup was also down 4 inches from his season average
It's a
horizontal
huge
break.
difference.
And his sweeper was down 7 total inches of break, 3 vertical and 4 horizontal.
Just like conceptually thinking about it, that's like a baseball's difference in the amount that the pitch moves. So that could be the difference between getting jammed or off the end of the bat in the middle of the barrel.
Also, get back to Severino for a second. I've talked a lot about Severino sweepers, that when he throws a sweeper, he's good. When he doesn't, he's bad. 81% of his pitches on Tuesday night were either fastballs or sinkers. 81! And he
I mean, that's
whiff
just got to be because of Colorado, right?
Totally, but also, like, I think maybe the changeup could have been used a little bit. It doesn't seem like the changeup ever really got to a place where he felt comfortable with it, which is a shame because in the offseason, that pitch looked really gross. But he only had 6 swings and misses. All of them were on the 4-seam fastball. And the Rockies swung at that 4-seam fastball 30 times. They swung 52 times in 89 pitches. The league average swing rate, I think, is in like the mid-40s. So that's like a 65% swing rate. That's incredibly high.
I was going to say, they're one of the most aggressive teams in baseball. Gary was talking about is like they love to chase, they love to swing early, and they love to strike out. Let's make sure we do a lot of that. In game 1, there was not a lot. Also, weird that they had like those dolls in the scoreboard out in right field.
Didn't like that.
Don't care for that one bit. Who put those there? Why are they there? I had nightmares.
Denver's an underrated creepy city.
Ooh, the Denver airport, right?
Yeah, in the past we've talked about the wild conspiracy theories, the Denver airport, and they have like pictures of like lizard people like it's very. They have a horse like with blue eyes in the front of it.
Oh yes,
like the stallion. Yeah, it's Denver airport's a weird place. Denver itself is a city I always thought I would like more, but I never really loved it that much at all. I know it seems
so
me, but it's not. It's not me. I've been there a few times. It just doesn't hit.
It's gluten-free. Gluten-free changed you, maybe.
I think it's just, I don't know. It's a city with no feel. Like everyone in there is a transplant. Like everyone in there it's all like corny white people from the Midwest who are trying to like make a new life for themselves. And a lot of those people are great. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
Corny white people from the Midwest. Those are my people. That's my entire friend
thing.
group from college. But I'm just saying, like, it's a city that loses texture because it's all transplants.
I guess, yeah, they followed the weed money out there maybe, and they were like, let's start selling this shit and sell it legally.
Yeah, totally, weed, skiing, everything. But I don't know, that it's just never hit for me. But then
never been to Colorado.
Stadium's sick though. That
place is and
so cool.
The home of Coors Light, the best beer in the entire planet.
Also the home of Ryan McMahon, who's Brooks Robinson against the Mets. I think he made 7 diving plays.
Dude, he made plays. Brendan Rodgers, Ezekiel Tovar made plays. Hunter Goodman made a diving play in the gap today. Jake, like every single player was making really good plays.
Brendan Doyle made a couple nice ones.
Brendan Doyle is a phenomenal fielder, to his credit. Really like that's the one thing I won't slander in his game. I'll slander everything else, but he's a phenomenal fielder.
He had another home run this series too.
For sure. He sucks though. He's a Coors merchant. Look at his splits. But
I also Keith thinks, because Keith only really watches the Rockies when the Mets play the Rockies.
Which is about right.
He actually thinks that Ryan McMahon is one of the best defensive players in baseball. It's funny. Like, he talks about him in that way.
Well, he was saying there was him and Gary they made amazing plays. And they were like, you got to be kidding me. And Ryan McMahon made a lot of these plays. And Keith's like, one day they're going to get this guy the Gold Glove. Like, when Arenado and Machado aren't around, he's like, one day they're going to get him one. And I was like, I don't think so. Like, he's a really good fielder. But he's not the level of Key Brian Hayes, Machado, Arenado. I don't think. Maybe
I don't think so either. He's still quite good.
Like, he's awesome. No slander of Ryan McMahon.
No, Ryan McMahon's a really good baseball player. I think if the Rockies ever allowed him to play for another team, he would flourish. He'd be in playoff races. He'd make big plays in the playoffs.
Would retire his number.
He would become a legitimate he would never be like a superstar or like a star, but he would be one of these like the premier Hall of Very Good kind of players.
Imagine if the Phillies let him play third, Albom to first, and Bryce Harper back to the outfield. They'd win the World Series in a heartbeat.
Like he'd have like a Michael Young, Mike Lowell career arc.
Ooh,
like he'd be like one of those third basemen you remember from an era.
Not in
like
the Hall
that
of
would
Fame.
Be Ryan McMahon. Yeah. If he didn't have to play sub 500 baseball in the Rockies his entire career because they refused to trade him. But I digress. Another third baseman that doesn't necessarily play good defense. I'm going to leave it here. Mark Vientos.
But you know what he does?
What?
Hits really well.
Yes, he does. That's why I'm going to leave it there. It's okay. It's fine. I don't
hitter.
care. I don't care. So what? The ball goes through a hole in the net. So what? I don't care. Whatever. No big deal.
That was
whatever.
That was crazy. I couldn't believe that happened. That play was chaos, and the fact that it's bullshit. Those nets are not tied to the thing. What is that all about? I mean, home field advantage.
Stupid.
Tip your cap to the Rockies there for the one time that's ever going to happen. Also, how did that happen? How did Mark Vientos allow that to happen? Bad on the Mets. They got to sell that better. Like whoever the trainer was or whatever just picked up the ball and put it out there. You got to pretend like you threw the ball into the stands, like almost like fake a throw and be like, all right, we need a new one. Like, get me a clean one.
That'd be a veteran move. But again, We'll leave it there. If he enters that bad series defensively, hit the big home run in the last game of the series, and he's still one of the best offensive third basemen in baseball. So I don't give a shit
Yeah,
what his
don't
defense
care.
looks like for now. For now, right now, I don't care.
Don't care
Playoffs,
right
we'll
now.
see. Right now, I don't care. But it's a good thing that when your team loses a tough game like that you can rely on some real trustworthy, just studly pitchers in the middle of your rotation. You know who that guy is, Mark?
Paul motherfucking Blackburn, baby. Get your beers out, everybody. I hope you had 3 Coors Lights.
I hope everyone had 3 beers on Wednesday because Paul Blackburn, another quality start. I love that this is a bit that we're building up on Mets'd Twitter account. They'll tweet Paul Blackburn quality start with 3 beer emojis, and every single time it gets hundreds and hundreds of likes.
Yeah.
So shout out to you guys for that one. The Mets'd Twitter hive is always strong, but awesome. And he's another one. He's made huge changes in just these 2 starts with the Mets. It's big credit to Jeremy Hefner as always in this podcast, but they said, fuck your fastballs. We don't care anymore. He dropped his sinker and fastball rates again on Wednesday after he dropped them last Friday against the Angels. His lowest rate of sinkers in the year, his lowest rate of fastballs on the year, in favor of more cutters. Threw the cutter 40% of the time, the most he's ever thrown in an individual start his entire career. And he threw it all against the lefties. He still mixed the other stuff in against the righties. The cutter got to 90 miles an hour. He also talked after the game. He gave a great post-game interview. Talked about really working with the Mets. They're trying to help him get a better shape on his slider. Optimized, I think he said. Use some kind of adjective there. And it's been tighter. He's lost a couple inches of movement on that slider, but maybe it seems like he can place it better. And something else that we love that really endeared him to Mets fans, he gushed about Francisco Alvarez.
Of course.
Said the way he catches with energy is amazing. He calls an incredible game for being such a young player. He said, I've loved working with him. It's been a week and a half.
It's crazy. Yeah, Francisco,
Yeah.
I mean, we've been around.
No, it's been a week. It's been a week.
Yeah, we've been around Francisco Alvarez. He has he's infectious around me. We're around him like, I want to be more around this guy. He's amazing. But yeah, Blackburn's been awesome. It's exactly what he's been. We knew exactly what he was going to be. Quality starts, 2 for 2. Keep him going. That should be 6 beers for everybody at home if we're counting. At least 6 beers. And also, shout out the fucking dog again. Jose Budo is that fucking dude. He is so
Really
good
is.
to come in and clean up afterwards. Out of the bullpen this year, 10 games, 20 and 2/3 innings, 24 strikeouts, an ERA under 1, a whip at .67. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm having this weird conundrum now where I'm like, is he just a reliever that's going to be amazing, or do we try and make him a starter again? Like, he's so good.
It's funny because Budo rhymes with Lugo, kind of, in a way.
Okay, you know what? Good. No, say it. This is our
Yeah.
redemption for Seth Lugo because fuck, we missed that guy so hard.
But also, this is something that weirdly we kind of foretold in this podcast preseason. I said, I don't know what role Jose Budo's going to have, but it's just the fact that Blackburn too, but Budo, because we were like, I don't know what the shape's going to be, but I can see this guy giving 100 innings of like 3.5 ERA.
Yeah.
And right now we're at 58 and 2/3 innings of 2.3 ERA in the
Even
season.
better.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's someone that you won't think about, you don't talk about. He's never on the prospect list. He's not getting the features. He's not promoted anywhere. He's not doing interviews. Mostly, I think it's because of the English. But he finds a way to be on this team. He's free. He didn't even make the opening day roster. And he's been so important. Like, I don't know where this Mets team might have 3 or 4 fewer wins if Jose Budo wasn't a member of the organization.
I forgot Daniel Nunez existed. I just forgot.
That's what I'm saying.
He's made me forget about Daniel.
It's coming back soon.
Yeah, he should be back soon. Him and Reed Garrett. Oh, wait. Do you got more Jose Budo, or can I tell a funny story on what happened on the broadcast today?
I was just going to say more sinkers from Budo and more changeups in this relief role. He's starting to get a little bit more comfortable with the slider, but we're not there yet, but I think we're getting there.
Were you a radio guy on Thursday for Thursday's game?
No, I watched.
Okay. Did you notice when Gary brought up how Reed Garrett and Daniel Nunez are coming back and the Mets are going to have to make some decisions in the bullpen? And Adam Ottavino's on the mound. And he was basically hinting like it's probably going to be Ottavino. Like he might be a guy on the chopping block right now. And they're zooming in on him. And Keith, of course, in his own world, just goes, ooh, Adam's growing a little bit of a stash there. As Gary's talking about how he might be cut and his career might be over. Keith's like, look at the stash from Adam. A little bit of a different look. How about that?
Also, it was kind of awkward that Ottavino made comments to SNY himself about not wanting to get cut.
Well, yeah,
that was kind of weird though. I've never heard the chance for a player to just. He does work for them, like he moonlights for SNY.
That's what I was gonna say. Have you ever heard of a player who's worked for a network during the season?
No, but that's I don't know. That was weird to me. But even I want to put a bow on Wednesday first.
Sure.
Jesse Winker, nice, good first game. first good game as a Met. He had 3 hits. He had a big RBI, and the Mets just had their runners in scoring position rally. Lindor got the big hit, which is what your best players are supposed to do when the team is. I'm not even gonna say the Mets are scuffling when the Mets are just not playing their best.
Yeah.
He made the big play. He made the good hit. He had some weird moments early in the game that you and I were talking about.
Yes.
That he seemed like he was trying to do too much. Seemed like he could feel the pressure a little bit. He swung at a bad 3-0 pitch, and
Yeah.
he swung at a good 3-0 pitch and just missed it in the second at bat of the game against Noah Davis. And then he swung at a bad 3-1 pitch at a lazy ground ball, beat out a double play, and then stole a base, which I think the Mets had a real and got caught stealing for the first time in I think about 6 or 7 weeks. For maybe the first time this season, the first time at least since April. But the Mets seemingly had a plan against Ryan Feltner to steal as many bases as they can. Lindor stole right away when he got on the first inning. Feltner's one of the slowest pitchers in the whole league to home plate. And then when Lindor got on against Noah Davis, he stole like almost instinctively with a man on third and Brandon Nimmo at the plate, which I didn't love that. I thought that with 2 outs and it didn't seem like he was getting a good jump. It seemed like he just got on base and was like, I am stealing. In a game, I think it might have been tied.
Yeah, it was.
And he had a man on third base with 2 outs.
Yeah, it felt like he was doing a little bit much trying to make something happen because they were a little bit just like, I'm not going to say dead, but it felt
They were
dead.
a little tight, a little slow, a little lagging.
So I guess he was trying to make something happen. And shout out Francisco Alvarez, triple.
Yes, that was a great triple too. Start the rally.
Yes. All right. Now let's talk about Thursday. Wrap up the series here. Great game on Thursday. Top to bottom. Everything was great. That's exactly what you should do against the Rockies. Pete Alonso, 2 home runs. He is, I believe, the 8th player in the StatCast era to hit 2 home runs in the same game that are 450 feet. Both over 450 feet, which is incredible. And that's the kind of Pete we need. I think he had another hit in this game too. 3 hits on the day. Looked a little bit more comfortable. Did you note it? Has he always done this? Have I just missed it when he hits a home run and he touches first base? He goes like this?
I don't know. Pete's always trying those little things like that. I really have no idea.
I don't know if it's going to catch on, but I saw him do like basically beautiful, kiss it goodbye.
The one he hit in the first inning too. I don't know if you caught that. 471 or 474. Second longest of his career.
Wow. Is the Minnesota one still number 1?
Of course.
Yeah, that ball's still traveling.
That tweet's been scheduled in the Messed Up podcast for I think next week or the week after, just because that's the anniversary of it. Like, remember Pete Alonso hit the 500-foot home run? Yeah, I scheduled it like in the winter because I was like, I'm just gonna do this. So I forget about it, remember it one day. But Vientos even hit one 425 feet. Every single member of the Mets starting 9 got a hit. 7 out of the 9 members had a hard hit ball. It was just great.
They started the game with 4 consecutive extra base hits, which is a Mets record as well.
Yes.
Jeff McNeil had one of those.
Francisco Lindor, 3 balls in play over 100 miles an hour. Pete just smashed 3. Vientos hit 3 hard again. He's been a hair of a cold streak for Vientos. Not really, but a tiny bit. Tyrone Taylor, 2 more hits and a bunch more really, really good plays in the outfield.
Yes.
I love the fact that Tyrone Taylor's having this year because there's another move that flew super under the radar. And I think everyone thought of it more for Adrian Hauser because he's a starting pitcher and the Mets so desperately needed pitching this past offseason. But that was such a quintessential. I'm a mighty organization. I have more money than you. I will take this player for free. The Mets traded just Coleman Crowe, someone who is still recovering from Tommy John surgery, someone they didn't even protect and wasn't taken in the Rule 5 draft to acquire just simply the rights to Adrian Hauser and Tyrone Taylor. And Taylor's been worth, I think, 1 full win above replacement so far this year. About that.
For you.
It's the kind of thing where like he's a 4th outfielder who has been unbelievably valuable. I know the 690 OPS is not sexy. Yeah.
0.6.
Yeah, all right. So trending for 1. I think it might have been B-War, might have been the 1.
It's the same as Luis Arias, though.
There you go. So that's an all-star to me.
That's hitting 300.
And really good defensive player. It's been so nice. Keith mentions it most of the broadcast now, how good this Mets team is defensively, because I think he just forgot about Starling Marte.
Yes.
But Marte did rehab. He's coming back soon. We'll see what actually happens with that. But without him, this outfield is fucking awesome.
It's incredible.
It's great. So good. It's across the board, they're so good.
And we've been lucky. Jesse Winker, not a lot of balls have been hit towards him because he's horrendous out there. So we haven't even had to worry about that.
And something cool about Jesse Winker that we talked about a few episodes ago when we acquired him, you're able to put Jesse Winker in the lineup. You're able to hit him third, and you don't feel that bad about giving JD Martinez day off. Because JD Martinez needs some days off. He has old bones, and his swing has been slow, and he's been really trending down. So it was nice to see him get that day off on Wednesday. And Jesse Winker get a big hit.
Jose Iglesias, another good series. Good baseball player.
It's fucking so good. He's got 333 batting average still and 870 OPS. Like, how the fuck is this happening? He also, I don't even know if you noticed it, but he made a play today where he was chasing a fly ball, like in foul side and third base. Was this game?
No, yesterday. That was yesterday.
Must have been yesterday. But I was watching it. Yeah. And someone of the Rockies fans, because he missed the ball, looked like he was going to catch it. He just barely got under it, but missed it.
Yes.
One of the Rockies dudes, you could see him mouthing. He did the hand motions. He went, Jose, oh my God. Like right in the front row when he missed the balls. I thought that was funny.
That's good banter. Good banter. But yeah, good way to end the series. Just
Great
beat
way to
them
end
up.
the series.
How did we get any numbers on Edwin's stuff from the other night from the save? Because he looked pretty in control. Is that just the Rockies thing?
That might be the Rockies think. I'll check now. Also, our boy Victor Vodnik, one save, and he blew one game. So nice heat check for us.
Yeah, no, that was
I
good.
went.
I was really nervous.
Yeah, I went on NBC's flagship baseball show. I hosted it on Wednesday and was like, I'm really looking at Victor Vodnik. I really like what I'm seeing right now. That night, he gives up 3 earned runs in the ninth inning.
That's pretty on brand for you.
Yeah, super on brand for me. Oh, Budo's also throwing about a mile or 2 miles an hour harder in this
That's
game. Nice.
great. Fantastic.
Edwin stuff just had like normal cores downside.
Okay.
The velocity was fine for season averages. He got up to 99.1, the fastball. I think it's a slider though. All comes back to that slider for Edwin. When he was his best, that was his primary pitch, and people weren't close to it, and he was getting a lot of ugly swings on it. I think that's what we're really looking for, to see Edwin be back.
Yeah. And speaking of being back, is Pete Alonso back?
I think Pete Alonso's back. I think it's nice for Pete Alonso to be back because there was a clip that made waves on Monday before the game in St. Louis where one of the reporters asked Pete, what do you think about your play this season? And Pete, I don't think has ever been good at reading the room.
Or
I also don't think Pete's ever exactly been I think I'm not gonna say that. I'll say in the last 18 months, it feels like Pete has made a change, probably instructed by his agent, to really say how good he is openly a lot, because he's always trying to get every single time in front of the media, you're trying to get more dollars. And Mets fans had a lot to say about Pete basically being like, I'm on pace for almost 40 homers again. I was an all-star. Like, I'm excited to play big baseball down the stretch. And people freaked out. I saved some replies from Mets fan under that clip. You want to hear some of them?
Yeah, hit me with a couple of them. This will be a real reaction.
Yeah, we got some good ones here. So he's happy with his 198 batting average, runners in scoring position, ? He's happy with his RBI total, ? Give me a break. He's out of touch. You can say it's been his struggle. If he's gone, no one will be upset.
Oh.
Translation: I stole an all-star appearance from Francisco Lindor just to embarrass myself in the home run derby because it's the only thing I care about. And now I'll demand 7 years and $250 million from the Mets. And instead sign with some bottom feeder to waste the final decent years of my career before decline. These are the top replies. These have a lot of likes and retweets.
Wow.
I got more. The best thing you did for us, Pete Alonso, was not sign that contract offer the team gave to you last offseason, because it was way over what you're worth. This team is playing their hearts out all year, and all you care about is yourself. You have lost your fans. Good riddance.
What is happening?
Good luck in your team next year, Pete. You're so overrated. This guy is so anti-team, it's unbelievable. All he cares about is his own accomplishments. That's why he competes in the home run derby if you're like a loser.
Wait.
He just wants his accolades. The best players don't even compete in that anymore, unlike Pete.
So just to get this, let me get this straight. He was asked the question. The question was, hey, Pete, how do you think you're playing this year? He answered, and everyone was mad that he was answering about himself.
Yes.
Okay.
And I thought some of these replies were interesting because it made me think a lot about this offseason. When we were doing a lot of Pete Alonso content, we were really trying to juice our own social medias again. And we were posting a lot of like, would you rather Juan Soto or Pete Alonso? David Stearns did some press stuff, and he would say like, we expect Pete to enter free agency and we're going to worry about it in the offseason. And I remember that a lot of the same people were really mad about that stuff, but then for very different reasons. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember people saying things along the lines of, we don't need Juan Soto, let's pay Pete Alonso, or I will never go to another Mets game if Pete Alonso is not signed to a lifetime contract, things like that, which is, both things can be right. You can want Juan Soto and you can want Pete Alonso to be a New York Met, maybe a little bit on us for making it a divisive thing and saying pick one, because
good engagement.
Because it was great engagement, of course, that's how the boys work. But yeah, it is pretty crazy how quickly people flipped, and it all comes back to that fucking asshole Joel Sherman putting out that bullshit contract thing.
It does. And I think that made people turn on Pete, because when I saw these replies on Monday, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to February and January and find some of the replies that Mets fans were saying then. And I have some really good ones here.
Let's hear them.
So here's one on a reply to David Stern saying Pete's going to enter free agency. We're going to approach it in the offseason. I will hate this man forever if he does not make Pete Alonso a Met for life. Another one. What a joke, David Stern says. I refuse to give this team a cent, all caps, until 2025. This is a Mickey Mouse organization.
Hmm.
Keep paying people not on our roster, but can't lock up a clubhouse legend.
Okay.
There you go. Here's a good one.
Oh, wait? Can you go back? Can you see what their recent tweets have been?
I guess I can pick some of these people.
Just
Yeah,
as
let's
you're
find
searching,
one.
as you're scrolling through, there's got to be a couple that are like, I fucking hate this guy. Get him off the team. It's
Yeah, it
almost like
probably is.
you almost need to go back and like both of those personally. Like,
Yeah,
just
right.
let them know that they did that.
I haven't been able to find him now. This guy retweets everything too much. He has 35 tweets
Okay,
today.
get him out of there.
Come back. I'll do it eventually. I'll do this my own time. But then here's another one. I'm not impressed by Stearns at all so far. February 12th,
That's good.
2024.
0 games.
If Pete leaves the building, he should lose his job.
Okay, that's insane.
Yeah.
If a guy doesn't want to play here, fire the GM.
I have some more.
How's there more?
I have no faith that Stearns will keep Pete Alonso and Met. I thought when Cohen became the owner, we were never going to lose our own players. This is ridiculous. This is really good.
This is also funny too because I never understood like when people get mad at the GM. It's like sometimes the guy doesn't want to be there. Like they like
Yeah, totally.
sometimes like it's not about the money. He's like, I don't want to be in New York. I don't think that's the case with Pete though.
Here's another great one. This is to Mets'd up. If the Mets want the fan base to turn on them, then upper management should get rid of Pete right now. I want him to be a Met for life, but you mark my words. If they trade Pete, they will crucify Stearns in his first year. This has already turned into one of the worst off seasons in team history.
Good.
That was January 3rd.
How many wins did the Mets have last year?
Not that 73.
Okay,
75.
and they're at what 61 now?
Yeah, I think already.
Okay,
Here's another great one. I got two good ones right here back to back. Pete Alonso is meant to be a New York Met for life. He can never go anywhere else. I lose all my faith in Steve Cohen in the front office if they can't get a deal done with a guy who will be a Hall of Famer as a Met. Here's another one. Give Pete a blank check. We have to keep our guys. I do not care if it's an emotional decision. We have to keep him.
Yeah, that is what good teams do. They emotionally decide who's good and who isn't.
This wasn't even 6 months ago. This is the way that Pete Alonso has turned. And I know he's not having the best year, and I understand that he hasn't been great runners in scoring position. But don't you guys see how quickly the runner scoring position things changes in just 2 days?
Yeah.
How once you're cold, then you get hot again when a ball just drops in front of a left fielder. It's such a funny thing that Mets fans do, which is just we are fast, we are hot, we are on top of things, we are emotional. It's the best thing about us, but also this is baseball, guys. These seasons are long. Yeah. So much happens.
I mean, Mets fans, we love you. We are, like you said, we are one of a kind. We are special in every single way possible. And thinking about this now, and going back to the Rocky series, it is kind of funny. It's a little kismet that the one game they lose was when a certain, I don't know, asshole Mets fan threw out the first pitch and wore a Rockies jersey for the whole game. I'm not going to go too long about this, but throwing out the first pitch, cool, whatever. That's awesome. I can't believe he gets to do that, but that's awesome. Good for him. Wearing the Rockies jersey throughout the first pitch, a little bit weird because I know the 7 line has done it at Citizens Bank Park before, and they put their foot down and be like, no Phillies jerseys. They're like, no Mets jerseys. And they're like, too bad, we're going to do it. And then to wear the Rockies jersey the whole game, that's crazy. I mean, if there are any of you that still believe in whatever he does over there, as a Mets fan, and you're a Mets fan, shame on you. Shame on you.
And I think that's kind of the whole point of this little like stupid bullshitty segment that we're doing right now is that the people who were outraged that Pete Alonso might not be a Met forever in February, and the people that are outraged that Pete Alonso is playing a little bit worse than his career averages in August, and the people that might like the guy that threw that first pitch, that Venn diagram is pretty close to a perfect circle.
Super tight.
And those are not the Met fans that we know we're talking to. No. You guys listening to this, you guys know we're all together in this. We want this Mets team to succeed. We're excited for this playoff run. We're really probably happy and proud of what this ragtag batch of 1-year contract guys and a few team leaders and really like stud players have done this year. And I'm very excited for the next month and a half, 6 weeks of baseball we have in front of us.
It's gonna be awesome. It's
gonna be awesome.
Like,
it's gonna be really good.
You can really ask for. By the way, just for comparison, Matt Olson this year with runners in scoring position, 228 average, 667 OPS, 3 home runs with runners in scoring position this year.
You think Braves fans want to kill him?
I actually think they do. Do you see how there was? Did you see how nobody was at the game today? We went to watch Charlie Morton get fucking stomped by the Brewers.
Tacoma had a crazy tweet today after the game. This is the first time the Braves have been outside the playoff picture in about 2 full calendar years.
Brings my heart goes out to them.
I would do anything to take their spot.
Be sick. Be amazing.
Anything.
Right now?
Just keep Hey, you know what? Just keep winning.
Just winning.
Win the games in schedule. Win the games in schedule. We'll have a chance.
Yeah, we'll have a chance. Definitely, for sure. All right. We are going to go ahead and do a quick little prospect report preview because this weekend we're going to be dropping our top 20, the Mets'd podcast conglomerate, official
Yes.
top 25 prospects. Everybody else is doing theirs. We want to throw our hat in the ring. We got the list, but we're going to make you watch a video that's only on YouTube to get it. So make sure.
I might put the audio on Spotify too.
No, only on YouTube.
The draft video went on Spotify and it's our best YouTube video of the year.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, do them both.
Okay. I think there's a lot of people that are, audio, they're absolute audio stands for us.
True.
So I think I want to give them the credit. I want to give them the credit that they warrant and they deserve, and that should be coming to them.
All
so
right.
if you don't want to do the YouTube, I get that, but you also get to see our beautiful faces, and we're going to have some videos in there too.
We will have some videos in there. So we will be dropping our top 25 then, and that is the prospect report we're going to give you. Brandon Sproat is making his debut, apparently, maybe, at AAA in Syracuse tonight. If the rain holds off, it probably won't. But Brandon Sproat, we're going to get Statcast numbers.
Yeah, this is the first time we're gonna get Statcast numbers because he went straight to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
He didn't get to go to St. Lucie. The only Statcast numbers we have is like 7 pitches he threw in the fucking spring breakout game. And he got 5 swings and misses.
Before you see the Statcast numbers, will he throw a pitch at the major league level this year? Yes or no?
I'm starting to think, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because last year we never put Scott to AAA, and I think that might have been because of the arm injury he had late in the year. Shout out Michael Marino for the scoop, but I think the Mets putting Sproat in AAA is a clear indication you can have a chance to maybe do something in the major leagues. It reminds me, this is going to be a dirty phrase. You're going to kill me for saying this. 2021, this reminds me of a guy in the Braves, a mustache communist
named
Spencer Strider.
I fucking hate
who
that
they
guy.
Put in the bullpen towards the end of the year, and he wound up being a central piece for them to go on a run.
Mm-hmm.
And that foretold what was going to be a monster breakout the year after that.
Jesse Winker, Jock Peterson. Do we get anybody else that's hitting?
Jesse Winker, Jock
Peterson. That's our Jock Peterson.
Okay,
Brandon Sproat, little Spencer Strider.
We're
missing a lot of other really good players that they had, but maybe we can get the vibes going.
I think it's similar, and I think that there's also something similar Stearns in 2018 with Woodruff too.
Yes,
and Burns.
Definitely. All right.
I can see it. I can for sure see it.
Here we go. Mariners preview. We are going to be joined by the hosts of the Marine Layer podcast. We've got Lyle Goldstein and TJ Matthewson joining us. Some Mariners fans over here. Not something that us Mets fans are too familiar with, the Mariners world. So thank you guys for joining us. And how you feeling coming into the series?
Overall, pretty good, because if you were to tell me on August 7th when we're recording this that they were in first place, I'd say great. If you had told me they were going to have a 10-game lead of first place back in mid-June and then blow it in record time, I'd say, well, that's a tough pill to swallow. So overall, happy with where they're at, but it could be a lot better than where they are right now.
And we're in this holding pattern where we're trying to gauge how functional this new offense actually is. They've been a lot better in the last month. So in case you've been living under the rock, the Mariners offense this year has just been atrocious. I mean, not really good at literally anything except hitting home runs. They don't get on base. They walk a decent amount, but they are going to set a major league record for strikeouts. That's a when, not an if. It's been better the last month. They were on a hot streak after the deadline. They scored a ton of runs with new additions like Randy Arozarena and Justin Turner. And now, as we're recording this on Wednesday morning, they have recorded back-to-back atrocious offensive games again and look a lot like they did way before the trade deadline than they have around the trade deadline. So we're trying to figure that out. Are they going to figure it out for the final 2 months of the season? Because if they can just hit at a league average clip, the combination of that and their pitching staff is going to carry them to a playoff spot. But if they don't do that, the bats are a little bit too inconsistent to confidently say they will. So we're just still trying to figure things out for the most part.
TJ, that's funny you say you guys are striking out at a league high clip, because I remember Jerry DiPoto specifically in the offseason saying they wanted to cut down the strikeout rate. They led Teoscar Hernandez, who I think is having a decent year, a decent offensive season walk, because he strikes out too much. So where have things gone wrong this year for the Mariners offense exactly?
Well, there's a reason Jerry does less media now, because a lot of his quotes have come back to bite him. I'll say his idea was the idea was fine, because they also struck out too much last year. They struck out the second most times in baseball last year. And when you put it down on paper, okay, we're going to get rid of a 30% strikeout guy in Teoscar Hernandez. we're going to get rid of we're going to get rid of more strikeouts within the lineup, and we're going to add, Mitch Garver struck out 24% of the time last year. That's fine. Luke Raley still struck out a ton when they added him in the lineup, but it was, they liked his versatility a little bit more. They anticipated guys like Jorge Polanco when they added him and his career 20% strikeout rate to not enter the Mariners lineup and all of a sudden strike out 31% of the time magically. Not exactly sure how that happens. There's just theories thrown out there. So when Jerry's putting together this idea, he's anticipating the guys in the lineup actually producing and doing what their career norms are instead of having outlier career worst seasons in certain categories. It has gotten better since the start of July. They've struck out about 24, 25% of the time, opposed to 30% as a team, but they still do have a ways to go to sort of rectify this issue. And there's a couple of guys they've added that are really going to help this.
So let me add on to this really fast. The Mariners in the offseason got rid of 4 guys who were striking out over 30% of the time. They got rid of Teoscar. They got rid of Eugenio Suarez. They got rid of Jared Kelenic. They got rid of Mike Ford. Those guys were striking out at like enormous clips last year. And when you factor it in with the guys you're replacing them with, you think to yourself, okay, strikeouts should go down. Polanco's not supposed to strike out this much. You put Josh Rojas at 30, doesn't strike out that much. Garver's a 23, 24% strikeout guy. On paper, it looked like, yeah, strikeouts will go down this year. And then collectively as a group for the first half, everybody has alarming career worst years, all in unison. And with that, the strikeout rate's just through the roof again. So, yeah, no, you're right, James. Jerry said we want to cut down on strikeouts. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been bitten by the injury bug, too, a little bit. I know J-Rod was not playing well, but the fact that he's not playing or healthy or doing anything really to help this team, not helping too much. And then JP Crawford going down, who had such a phenomenal year last year. Me and James have been big Mariners believers for a long time, just because the pitching's so good. A lot of good talented hitting that at least in the past had been league average. I mean, this year it is shocking how bad the offense is. And to be fair, they did go out and make some moves at the deadline. Probably had one of the better deadlines this year, in my opinion, grabbing Randy Arozarena, grabbing Justin Turner. Have you guys really felt the impact from those guys yet in the lineup?
Yeah, they have. And it's not just those guys, because I need to throw flowers at Victor Robles. This dude has been unbelievable. I mean, he might go down as one of the top 5 in-season pickups they've ever had if he keeps this up the rest of the season, if not the greatest. I'm dead serious. This dude was literally left for dead in Washington, and he is perfect. He's perfect. He's a right-handed hitting outfielder. He does not strike out. It's like below 15%. It's incredible. We don't know what that looks like. And he's hitting for power, and he's controlling the strike zone too. It's literally the perfect pickup. And on top of that, Lyle have sat here at the deadline and evaluated, like, have they done as well as they possibly could have at the deadline? They could have added one more marginal bat. I think there was one more marginal bench to semi-starter bat level guy out there if they wanted to do that. And they ended up not doing it because I think they were shooting for bigger fish. But overall, I think they got the best bat. They needed bats at the deadline. They got the best bat. They needed a reliever. And I think they got the best reliever at the deadline too, in Jimmy Garcia. So if you look at it in that sense, yeah, it was pretty good. And then Justin Turner alleviates a lot of what their issues were on the infield and overall within the lineup. He's going to reach base a lot. He's not going to strike out even at his old age. He's not going to hit for a ton of power, but that's fine. They need him to put the bat on the ball. And he's done that, except for almost getting hurt last night and breaking his hand. But he didn't break his hand, thankfully. It's just sore. And he's an A+ dude as well. So I would say, yeah, when they have done what they've needed to do at this deadline to make a push for the playoffs. But they still are one bat short.
All right, that's enough talking about the Mariners stuff that sucks, like the hitting. I want to give you guys a chance to talk about their pitching, because as Mark said, him and I have been obsessed with this team for a while. I think I'm going on 3 straight years where I've bet the Mariners at least to win the pennant, if not win the World Series, and 2 straight years where I've bet Logan Gilbert to win the Cy Young. I love these guys. Tell some Mets fans about your guys' pitching and why it's so great.
Where do you want to start? I mean, if you're betting Logan Gilbert again this year, James, might come true.
Not dead. No, I'm not dead yet.
No, like he's very much in the running. I don't know if he's quite at Tarek Skubal level, but he's in the running.
Mm-hmm.
What to love about the Mariners pitching? I mean, the guys throw a ton of strikes. They have great stuff. They have great secondaries. And you know what's interesting about these guys is they're always willing to tinker and add more pitches. Logan Gilbert, his rookie year, threw a ton of fastballs, and he relied so much on his fastball. Fast forward to now, dude's got 6 pitches. George Kirby's kind of in a similar boat where he's added pitches over his first couple years. Bryce Miller just added the splitter this past year because as a rookie, he had some nice ups, but toward the second half of the year, he was basically using 2 pitches and got hit pretty hard. So he said, you know what? I need something that's going to neutralize lefties a little bit more, that's going to keep hitters off balance a little bit more. He adds a splitter, and then now that splitter has been a really, really good pitch for him. So in a nutshell, I'd say that's what you love about the Mariners staff is 1 through 5. Not only do they all have great stuff, do they all throw a ton of strikes, and do they all seem to turn out great start after great start on a nightly basis. But yeah, it's like there's no weak spot in the rotation, which is such an it's such an odd concept to watch every night where, yeah, there's an offense that you're always pretty unsure about and you're always a little uncomfortable watching because they've had their struggles, to say the least. But pitching side of it, it's like you feel good every night with who's going out on the mound because they could spin you 6 or 7 shutout innings.
And I do know that the Mariners bullpen's been a little bit shakier than it has been in the past. But, I mean, Andres Munoz is just simply one of the 3 best relievers in all of baseball. I know I've got my famous tweet of, I got to name my firstborn son Patrick after Patrick Mazeika hit the home run almost instantly after hitting send against Andres Munoz. But was I right? Did he start off the year a little bit shaky and then he kind of locked in? Was that a thing this year?
I'm trying to remember.
No, I don't think he was. He was still trying to regain his form from 2022. Lyle and I've mentioned this a lot last year, especially. So in 2022, I think was peak Andres Munoz. So he essentially relied on 2 pitches, and he was dominant. You legitimately could not hit his slider. His slider was one of the 3 or 4 best pitches in baseball in 2022. Lost a little bit of that last year, but it forced him to adapt and add a sinker to his repertoire, in which he's now incorporated all 3 pitches confidently into his pitch mix. And I think it's really paid dividends this year. He's gotten hit less hard. The slider has regained some effectiveness, not all the way back to his 2022 level. But I think what you're thinking of early on in the season is the Mariners really had to rely upon him early on in the season. I believe he leads Major League Baseball in saves of at least 4 outs because they don't have They don't have Brash this year. Gregory Santos, who we've been waiting for forever.
He's awesome.
Finally gets back this past month, but gets hurt again and is right back on the injured list. And even when he was pitching, he wasn't really that effective. So it's been Munoz shouldering the load of that bullpen and feeling the pressure and the responsibility of having to be everything the bullpen needs. Everything. He's been the only guy in the bullpen this year. I'm not counting Jimmy Garcia because he just got here. That hasn't been up and down. The only guy. He has been the most consistent guy among a group that has been at sometimes great, at sometimes a little shaky, especially in the middle innings.
Yeah, I think the Mariners expected to have a big 3 this year out of the bullpen, but it kind of turned to a big 1 really fast because Brash got the Tommy John. Santos has missed most of the year. But Munoz, to your point, Mark, yeah, like he might be. Am I going to say he's the best reliever in baseball? Like, can I put him over Mason Miller and Emmanuel Clase? I probably wouldn't do that. But when you talk about most valuable, I would argue that it's him because if you take him out of this bullpen, I don't know where in the world this bullpen is right now. Like they're not a league average bullpen, that's for sure, because he has, like TJ said, he's gotten a ton of saves. He's gotten a ton of 4+ out saves, and he has been absolutely dominant. Like without him, the Mariners are in a totally different spot right now.
Yeah, just to go through the rest of this bullpen for Mets fans, it's Munoz and Jimmy Garcia they just acquired. Also, we forgot Mets and Mariners made a trade. I guess we'll talk about Ryan Stanek in a second. I'll ask you guys. But names Colin Snyder, Taylor Saucedo, who I think was in the Mets system for a brief period of time. Also just traded for JT Chargois. Austin Voth, who's a longtime favorite of mine. I weirdly have him in a very deep fantasy league that counts saves and holds. So just that I've always had an infatuation with Austin Voth and that big curveball. Jonathan Hernandez and Trent Thornton. So besides Munoz, this bullpen is a little shaky back there, but they still have that great top end with him and Garcia. But guys, Ryan Stanek, give Mets fans maybe a TLDR on Ryan Stanek, because I think we've had an interesting first few weeks of the Ryan Stanek experience. So tell us what a half a season of that was like.
I actually want to turn this back on you guys. What are your first evaluations of Ryan Stanek? And I want to see how well they match up with what Lyle and I think.
Well, I mean, we've always been big fans of Ryan Stanek. James is the pitching
Yeah.
whisperer over here on the Mets'd podcast. So this offseason, when we go through like the random bargain bin relievers and players that we want, Ryan Stanek was a name that's come up. Ryan Stanek's a name that's come up in years past as well when we've been doing this podcast. So we like to think that David Stearns is listening because we name a random reliever and he eventually ends up on the Mets, and Ryan Stanek was one of those guys. So we've been excited, and we're also so not the guys to overreact. Like he had that one appearance where he gave up the 2 home runs, and that happens. Shit happens. But otherwise, like, we believe in the stuff. We believe in the pitcher that he is, and he's definitely better than a lot of the relievers we had in this bullpen.
Yeah.
We're also. Oh, go ahead.
I love that he's just an insane human being. Like, he looks like he's coming into the game, but he's also has like a Metallica show right after. Like, his head is bobbing. He looks angry. There's something in his mouth. I don't know if it's chewing tobacco or a lot of gum, but he's just ready to fucking go. And I also love that the Mets bullpen right now doesn't have a trustworthy lefty. We've lost Brooks Raley for the year, and we've DFA'd Jake Diekman. Those are supposed to be our like two-headed monster against lefties coming into the year. And I like that Stanek's pitch mix, his repertoire isn't really that split depending. So a lot of pitches just move up and down. So I like that. Theoretically, he should be good at getting hitters out on both sides of the plate.
So he looks really intimidating, but he's actually a super nice guy. So like
Okay.
it's got the balance there. So thoughts on Stanek. So we were also pounding the drum for him in the offseason because they needed that extra bullpen arm, and he's out of all the relievers that were on the market, he seemed like the guy. The stuff is unbelievable. If you just take a look at Stuff Plus, for example, all of his pitches combined, I mean, it's by far the best stuff in what the Mariners bullpen had. Better than Munoz, way better than Munoz's stuff. If we're actually looking how it grades out, just doesn't throw a lot of strikes. And I think the Mariners were kind of done with it. Like, too many 2-0, 3-1 counts that were just, that's the antithesis of how they operate as a pitching staff, where they're always talking about getting ahead in counts. I mean, it's an 0-1 count, it's a 1-2 count. Like, those are the counts you want to be in. And Stanek would just not do that. He just could not throw enough strikes for them to be comfortable with. And I think he was dealing with a little bit of a back issue towards his last couple of appearances. His velocity was down, and gave Jerry Dipoto an easy reason to let go of him. And his salary probably didn't help either.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Like, obviously, he's got great stuff, and we've seen Ryan Stanek and what he looks like at his best, right? Like, on that 22 Astros team that won it all, he was arguably the best reliever in that bullpen. It's just the last couple of years have looked a little bit different. So, you know what? Maybe a change of scenery is good for him. Mets, you don't need us to tell you that the Mets are fighting for a playoff spot, that they're looking for bullpen arms, that maybe a change of scenery helps Ryan Stanek. Maybe Ryan Stanek in New York actually gets back to some form of the Ryan Stanek that's made him really effective over the years. Even if he's not going to be like a George Kirby strike thrower out of the bullpen, maybe he gets back to a little bit of what he was before, where he's thrown a little bit more in terms of like his thrown a little bit better command wise, still has the great stuff, helping get lefties out, like all that stuff. So we really liked Ryan Stanek. It just, when they made those trades, it honestly started to feel like he was a little bit of the odd man out. And I think for the Mariners, because of the fact that they preach so much about throwing strike one and he was just walking too many guys, he was the one that they decided to let go.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
We've also talked a little bit about Dipoto and trades. I know, like, nationally, Dipoto is kind of known as the trade god. Like, he's the king. He loves to make a deal. Do you guys have either a favorite or a least favorite or a most memorable Jerry Dipoto trade from the last few years? Just to tell us about your feelings, your emotions, just to really describes him as a general manager, as an executive.
Okay. Do you have one, Lyle?
Well, I was going to say, I think the reason a lot of the time he is a big trade guy is because he doesn't exactly have the approval from the people upstairs to actually go spend on name brand guys in free agency and the A-list free agents. So he has to make do with the chips he has, which often leads to making trades because he doesn't always have the resources to go spend in free agency. But yeah, when you trade as much as he does, you're going to make some good ones and you're going to make some not so great ones. If I had to pick a favorite trade
or least favorite, just something
I have
memorable.
one that epitomizes what like the philosophy that Jerry Dipoto employs, and it's going to tie directly back to our podcast. So once I said that, Lyle knows which one I'm talking about. 2021, Mariners are vying for a playoff spot. It is it's like end of July. They are going. They are playing the Astros at home. They have this dramatic come from behind victory where Dylan Moore hits a come from behind go ahead grand slam in the bottom of the 8th inning. Mariners, what was it, 7-0? They
Oh, it
come
was
back
more than that.
8-0, something like
Yeah.
that. Like they storm back against just a really good Astros team. Go ahead grand slam. The vibes are at its absolute peak of Mariners fan. I'm like, holy, like we're in contention now. But like the rebuild's over. We're contending. We're getting this playoff spot. The next day, Jerry DiPoto trades Kendall Graveman across dugouts to the Astros for Abe Toro and just kills the entire vibe. The entire vibe. He was so willing and ready to make a trade for an expiring contract on a reliever that it did not matter what, like, who they were playing at the time, what had happened the night before, or who they were getting back, who, by the way, Abraham Toro, who they got back, is who I dub as one of the worst players I've ever seen in my life before he got cut.
Oh, we could go on a tangent about this forever. Yeah, Abe Toro's a fan favorite of our podcast. I'll put it like that, and specifically
He
because
sucks.
TJ loves to talk about him, and that's why he's a fan favorite of our podcast, and not always in the nicest light. Yeah, so like, look, he's had his good ones and his not as great ones, but like he has made some good trades over the years. Like for example, when he flipped Gene Segura right after signing him to that extension and got JP Crawford back. Like they signed him to that extension summer 2018. They decided to tear it down and rebuild shortly after that. And they got JP Crawford back for Gene Segura. Like that was a good trade. What else?
Jared Kelenic was a great trade.
Yeah,
that
it was
was
awesome.
really well.
For everybody.
Oh, you know what? You just sparked something. I want to get this out here on the Mets'd pod while we're sitting here talking about it. Do you guys know the Trumpets actually started in Seattle?
Did not know that.
Nope, not at all.
Now it wasn't famous in Seattle the way it is in Queens, but like in 2018 when he had his dominant year, Eddie, before he got traded, he used Timmy Trumpets, and it like people loved it here.
Then
and
what the fuck was he doing not using the Trumpets all those other years with the Mets?
Tried to move on in 2019. That's it.
Clearly seems to be a thing with him where he needs those fucking trumpets.
I was gonna say like 2019 was a little bit of a different story for Edwin Diaz than 2018. I'm surprised he didn't go back to the Trumpets earlier.
Same. Mets might have won that World Series instead of Nationals if he went back to those fucking Trumpets earlier. But
there you go.
It's funny because you guys talked about the Mariners team that it's like we don't know where the offense is coming from. We have every single night someone we trust on the mound. Sounds very similar to a story that Mets fans know.
Yeah.
And we also know from our perspective that it just takes one miracle, one get hot, sometimes one Cuban outfielder, which you guys have now suddenly fulfilled that prophecy. Get hot for 1 month and this whole thing could really be kind of fun for you guys. So just as we close out here, what's the one thing that can happen for the Mariners that can make you guys feel euphoria the rest of the baseball season?
It's also super fun you brought up the Randy Arozarena comp because when I went on their podcast, they were like, does Randy feel like your Yoenis Cespedes pickup? So I didn't even tell you that. In fact, you brought it up. Good podcasting right there.
Right?
Yeah.
Hive mind.
If there was one thing that Mariners fans want that will make everyone euphoric, it'd be winning the damn World Series. That's
How
what
does
it would
that
be.
happen? Tell me
It's
how.
about time.
Well, how it happens, we keep preaching this. We've preached it all year. They just have to get into the field, like get into the postseason, and this rotation could do so much come October. So I think that's what it is. Like, just have a decent enough offense where you can get into the field. You don't have to be the league's best offense. Be the 10th best offense, the 12th best offense. Be just good enough.
I've heard all these things before.
Yeah, where you can just get in. And this rotation can take them a long way. So I even think, man, even to see him in like an ALCS, I know that sounds like loser talk because every fan base should say World Series or bust, but to even like get there would be sick.
You're talking to
even
Mets
get past-
fans. We know this so well.
Exactly.
The Kings of
Talk
losers.
about
You guys have been to a World Series in the last decade.
Yeah, and
It
one of my
happened that
favorite-
one time. That decade's going to expire next year. We can't say
One of
that
my
anymore next
favorite
year.
memories is losing a World Series. Like that's so fucked up.
I think we have the major league record for losing the World Series when leading for the highest percentage of innings.
Yeah, that's
I've actually heard that stat before. They
Yeah.
led for what, like over 80% of the innings in that World
I
Series?
think it was between
Dominated.
70 and 80, something like that. I don't know. It was bad defense.
Stevie
It was
hang the
bad
banner for
hitting.
that?
Oh God, yeah, no. But I don't know. I love Mariners fans. I like the Mariners every year. I'm so obsessed with pitching, so I love it. And then you guys just kind of feel like Mets West sometimes, where it's like if these
little
things
bit.
just fucking line up, we can win. And everyone loves the Mariners so much, and we can definitely appreciate that from afar.
I got one question for you guys. A lot of people are going to, well, I shouldn't say a lot of Mets fans, but there will be Mets fans that travel out to Seattle, out to T-Mobile. What is it? What is it? T-Mobile Park?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, Safeco feels so much better. I missed that.
Yeah.
But T-Mobile Park, what is one thing that Mets fans visiting should go to get to eat at the stadium?
You know, the one thing about T-Mobile Park is they actually have a lot of really good food. So I'm trying to think of one specific thing. I mean, the garlic fries are pretty popular at T-Mobile Park. That's, I guess, if you want to do the cliche thing, it's that from Kid Valley. But yeah, so I'm taking the cliche answer here. I'd say the garlic fries.
Yeah, I'd probably just get something on the 100 level. The diversity of food options on the 100 level is kind of bonkers. Like there's this curry place behind home plate that
Whoa.
I've seen people walk
curry?
walk around with, and I've smelled it. It smells pretty incredible. Like
Nice.
not really something you would get
That's right
at a
up your alley,
ballpark.
James.
Oh, I
And
love that,
if you want to be more exotic, they sell crickets at
More
the
exotic.
Canyon Meow.
hell yeah.
So,
I'm gonna give people a warning. They're awful. Like we've
Oh,
tried
they're
them.
bad?
Like, well, so they started it in what 2019, where they started selling grasshoppers for people to eat because it was so odd. And I tried it, and it's like, no, this is exactly what you'd expect. It's not some way that they dice it up and actually make it really, really enjoyable as a
Just
meal or a snack or something. It's like, no, they're really bad.
Yeah.
which is why if you're going to the park for the first time, you have to get it.
Yeah,
So
of
you can
course.
say
It's
you
a
ate a
rule.
grasshopper at a ballpark.
Curry,
man.
crickets, and grasshoppers. That is an interesting little bit of food that you could get out in Seattle. Guys, TJ, Lyle, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Let everybody know where they can find you, follow you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we're on all podcast platforms. You can find us on YouTube, and we're on social media at Marine Lair Pod is our handle, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, also on YouTube Shorts as well. So thanks.
Yeah, this has been fun. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, James.
Yeah, always. Let's go
course,
Mets, and hopefully we sweep the Mariners. All right. Shout out to Lyle and TJ for coming on. That was great. You guys should definitely go check them out if you have not yet done so. We're going to wrap up the podcast here with a couple reviews, if we have any from the last episode.
Oh, I have a treat.
Oh, yes. Frankie Peppers.
If anyone's on pins and needles, I know Mark is.
I am. I forgot.
We have more word from Frankie Peppers. I have not listened to this yet. I got a voice memo today on Instagram. Frankie Peppers is back, and he has something to tell you guys.
I can't wait to hear what Frankie Peppers has got.
All right, here it comes.
Thanks again for listening to my Instagram the other day. I'm recording this as I watch the final Colorado game, and boy, do we need a series like this. Meet Pete hitting dingers and Francisco Lindor looking like him. They look really good. Anyway, I made a Twitter last night, and my name is not Frankie Peppers on there. It's Peppers Frankie, because some jamoke named Frankie Peppers also took the account like 15 years ago and is using some pretty bad language. They're talking about Charlie Sheen and stuff. So I called him out. I also my first block was that other Frank, that fake fan, throwing up the first pitch at the Rockies game. I saw him, and I don't want to see him anymore, so now I won't. Anyway, thanks for the pod, boys. Love what you're doing. Come over for dinner sometime or see you at a game. Thanks.
Shout out Frankie Peppers.
Electric as always. Listen, Frankie Peppers getting to Twitter could save the season.
There's by far no Mets fan by the name Frank even close to Frankie Peppers.
No, he's number one. And if he's not
Power
number
rank.
one, if he's not number one right now, he will be there by the end of the year. You mark that down.
Frankie Peppers, electric again. Do we have any reviews? Did you check?
No, honestly, Frankie Peppers distracted me. Anytime I hear that guy's voice, I get excited. So
This has become such an amazing character. I'm so happy.
I can't wait to
Peppers
meet
is in
Frankie
our
Peppers.
lives.
No new reviews. Oh, wait,
All right.
we did get one. We got one from, man, why are they giving us dates sometimes? We got one from JL Mets 7. 5 stars, good stuff. He just said, who's better, Stearns or Peter Bendix? David Stearns, masterclass. That's it.
I have some more reviews too.
Really?
Stearns or Bendix. Yeah, I'll take David Stearns. One more from he made his name Mets'd Boys.
We
Sure,
did this
yeah,
one.
No.
Yeah, we read about Gavin Keogh.
It said this was left on Tuesday. There's no way we've done this.
Then he left another one? Oh, he said this is Gavin
he
again.
said he left another one.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so question. Hey, guys, this is Gavin. I don't want to say his last name because I don't want to dox him. I know you guys are not 18. I just wanted to tell you that I am 18. Okay, yeah, again. Usually don't share this much private information on the internet. I'm sorry. I'm going to skip all those things. He's just telling us how to pronounce his name. I'm not going to pronounce
I think he wants it to be pronounced on the podcast.
I don't want to say someone's first and last name to all these people on here.
Yeah, they're all right. No, you know what?
Okay.
You make that call, you're reading it.
Sure. Maybe you guys forgot his first name. Blah, 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 blah. Men in Black forgot his first name.
forgot
I'll
it.
pronounce his last name like he wants to. Keogh. Okay, Keogh. Awesome work, you guys. Do you think Pete, Jeff, Marte, Bather, and Beatty will all be on different teams next year? Please give me a shout out next episode. This is your shout out, Gavin. You're the man. I will contact you guys soon about doing an interview on my podcast. Let's go Mets. Hit us up, Gavin. But I think all of those guys, besides Harrison Bader, will be on the Mets next year.
That's my bet. I would say
Yeah.
all four
I
of
think
those
Harrison
guys.
Bader's the only one gone.
And Harrison Bader's going to find a new city to run through, and he'll have a great time.
I can't even imagine the amount of texts that Harrison Bader sent out to women in St. Louis between the hours of 6:23 p.m. on Sunday until the flight left St. Louis on Monday night. I can't even imagine the Rolodex he went through.
You know how Charles Barkley has that whole thing about San Antonio women?
Yeah,
it feels like it could be a St. Louis thing too as well. Like they might be parallels.
There's plenty of beautiful women in St. Louis. I know Harrison Bader has tried to speak to all of them.
Definitely, if they're out there, he's found them. That's for sure. Guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. Follow us on our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd podcast YouTube channel to see our beautiful faces and to see us drop our top 25 prospects this weekend. If you are listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. Follow James on Twitter at
James_Shiano.
And I'm Draft Nick Mark with a C. Shout out Frankie Peppers. Shout out the Mets. Let's go beat the Mariners. LFGM.
LFGM. Let's go Mets. See you guys next time.